Right. You're back. The Instagrams is letting me know that it is letting you know that we're back. So, all right, guys. Thank you for coming back. Sorry for that cutoff. That's our limit on time. So, give everybody a chance to jump back in here. We'll talk with Sam a little bit more about what he's got going on, and then we'll talk about next week's movie. Take some questions and go from there. So, uno momento. Oh, I forgot about that. Hey, and we're back. I just noticed Brad from Damnation just made a comment that Damnation has a reggae version of every Roving Midnight song. I forgot about that. They have sent me recordings of them playing, like, well, not just Roving Midnight, but like Let's Go to the Cemetery done reggae. So I mean, all signs are pointing to reggae album, man. At least live show. It's got to happen now. So, can you hear me?
I can hear you. You got a
Okay.
fan?
Probably not.
No.
Oh, you mean a fan? I thought you meant like in real life. I'm like, probably,
Probably not. Yeah.
probably not. I have one, yes, but I don't think it's loud enough. So, Brad says it's true. So we're gonna have to bring him on here to prove it at some point. I have heard them; they're pretty awesome, but I think everyone else wants to hear it. So, I think I could make it work, man. Scientist, there's a reggae artist named Scientist, and he had an album that came out in the '70s. Um, I think it's called like Scientist battles Dracula, the Wolfman, and an army of zombies or something crazy. And it's all like dub reggae, but it's done very eerily. So
Nice.
I think it could be done, man. I think anything can be done to a degree, like in terms of horror. I don't know if it's horror punk or whatever, but
Well, I
it's
remember
all,
hearing Geen and the Grave Robbers for the first time and being like, this makes total sense.
yeah,
It's, completely crazy, but it was, gloomy surf rock. It's like it somehow worked perfectly.
it works, man. It's all in, the presentation, really. I mean, you think about it. It's been in music through history. I mean, we call it horror punk, horror rock because that's kind of, that just started. I don't even really know where that came from. When we first started playing in Blitzkid, um, we were calling it like ghoul rock. Like TB had on the back of his jacket, it said Ghoulie High. So we were calling it ghoul rock for a little bit, and the whole, I don't know where horror punk came from, but we just started calling ourselves that, horror punk, horror rock. But if you really think about it, man, it's all just subject matter. It's been in music throughout history. I mean, you look at artists such as Screaming Jay Hawkins, who was jumping out of a coffin, had a statue of a staff with a skull smoking a cigarette. He showed up to shows in a zebra print hearse, bone through his nose. Not just him, but it goes even further back. If you look even into just classical music, even subject matter wise, you have like Maurice Ravel had Pavane for a Dead Princess, stuff like that. Heinrich Marschner, the vampire, all this stuff. So it's like, and that's the thing is you can listen to classical music. Like if you listen to Night on Bald Mountain, it's like, it's the equivalent of horror in opera. And it's all in the tone. It's all in the accents, I guess, and you just got to take whatever music you're doing. And I'm sure reggae would be no different.
Yeah.
Make it work for what you do.
I always wanted to do like a spooky folk group.
Yeah, man. I agree with you. I think I've brushed that before, but more like in subject matter. Like,
Yeah. The closest thing I can think of is this group called Lord Huron. And they are like their lyrics are freaking amazing. They're
yeah,
just they're really really pleasant to listen to. It's a common one to put on like in the car and stuff like that. I always put it on. I think we were talking about it one day when you were talking about Orville Peck, and
yeah,
but I highly recommend Lord Huron.
yeah. I'll check that out, man. I you mentioned Orville Peck. He's awesome. I came across him last year, just through satellite radio, and I was like, this is cool. I was listening to the song "Turn to Hate." and I was just like, this guy sounds like Billy Idol and Dave Vanian like got together and wrote a song. So and then obviously he has
Can't go wrong with that.
no, it's so cool. Dude, everyone is chiming in now with reggae names. It's great. It's
I do like the Reggae Midnight. I think that's pretty good.
Reggae Midnight.
Although the Reefer Midnight would also work.
That would work too. Yeah. Um,
But it's the Argyle Goolsby. So it's like, what can we do? What kind of a pattern is synonymous with reggae? Really?
I don't know, but someone just not that I got sidetracked here. Lauren Wiles just said reggae mortis.
That's pretty good too.
That's incredible. I love it. That's my favorite one so far. I love it. Oh man, this is great. But hey, let me jump back to the pin that you were talking about. So if anybody can get this, if they want to, I don't know, I'm shaking a pen and a pencil right now, but if they want to pick up the pin, if they want to order anything, I mean, you have a store full of awesome stuff. Let them know how.
So if you go to monstersaregood.com, nice and simple, you can find pretty much anything that I've made that's currently in stock is up on there. I will say, like, hold off until, give me a day or two to get my new stock in. Things like the ever popular Cretan Hop shirt, which is the Ramones inspired T-shirt. It will be back in stock in a couple days, and my new current favorite, which is, I know you've showed it to you, the Ghostbusters one. This one,
I love it. Yeah, that's it, man. The Ghostbusters toys, man. Like, I saw that, and I had every single one of those. Well, not every single one of them. I wanted the Frankenstein one really bad, but
yeah, they're over here too.
Yep, I see them up there. The Wolfman and the zombie managed to make it into my adulthood. I still have those two.
I actually never had the zombie until just like a month or two ago.
Really?
I never had that one when I was a kid. I had the Wolfman, I had Frankenstein, I had Dracula, and the Mummy, but I never had the zombie or the Hunchback.
Dude, Ghostbusters made some cool toys around that time. I forgot the name of the line, but they were like the Milkman, the Postman. They all turned into ghosts.
Oh yeah.
I had the Postman, and you would pull his pants down, and then he was like, his tie would fly up like a nose, his pockets would turn into eyes, and he had like his rib cage was like a mouth. They were like really just frightening toys, man.
I mean, it's one of the coolest eras of action figures was like, 1985 to probably like mid to late 90s, when everything had some kind of stupid, nonsensical like action.
Well, you think about He-Man, you know what I mean? He-Man was one of the first ones to really start branching out into like Merman, Mossman, Stinkor. You get away with, making a toy stink, and people wanted it. So it's like,
well, it smelled like patchouli.
Yeah,
is what I've been told, was that the scent was actually like patchouli, which makes it even funnier. But
true.
But yeah, I mean, so Trick or Treat Studios has just recently started breaking out into the toy industry, and I keep trying to convince Justin, the art director, that we should do like early 90s inspired line of figures that come with like the ridiculous, like oversized accessories.
Yes.
And so I've been trying to like talk him into doing that, and he's like very resistant because he has very, very specific ideas. And I mean, who am I to say that anything that I think is a good idea? But we were talking about, the ones that I was talking about was The Shadow.
Oh yeah.
The Alec Baldwin movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, we should do a Darkman like that.
Oh God, Darkman, yeah.
Yeah.
That's classic.
I mean, apparently we are working on stuff for, like, we're going to do some Nightbreed stuff. We're going to do more, like, right now we're doing like the 12-inch, like 1/6 scale figures. So he's really exploring as much as he can with that before we start branching out and doing other things. But I'm really looking forward to doing some like stupid, like Terminator style.
Oh, dude. I highly encourage that decision.
I was trying to say that to him. I'm like, listen, man, This retro is, 80s retro. It's great and it still has its market, but it's like 90s retro's here, man.
Yeah.
You gotta start hedging your bets.
You need some Three Ninjas toys too. Just throwing that out there.
Does anybody really need Three Ninjas toys? When was the last time you watched that movie? Because I caught
Long
like
time ago, man.
I caught like 10 minutes of it and I was like, this movie is fucking garbage. Like, I can't believe I made my parents sit through this like multiple times.
Yeah. That was, yeah, no, they were not good movies, man. Do you remember Drop Dead Fred?
Oh, I just watched that recently.
Yeah, like that one still holds up, I think. I like Drop Dead Fred. I mean, I get it. So,
I mean, it's rough just because it's like, really, what's the point of this movie?
so
Uh, and it's like the humor isn't quite. It's like it verges on kitty, but then it's also like very
dark.
gross and dark at the same
Yeah.
time. So it's very strange. A friend of mine actually purchased a screen used tea set from that movie, like the little girl's tea set.
Oh, when they're kids, yeah,
Yeah.
the Tea Party.
So
It's on.
he has the certificate of authenticity and stuff that goes with. It's like this was in Drop Dead Fred, and
They're
it's
like
just like,
yummy, yummy, smelly dog poo.
mhm.
Love that scene, man. Where you're like throwing dog poo around. And do you remember? This isn't necessarily '90s, but I don't know what made me think of this. For some reason, Drop Dead Fred made me think of. Do you remember Young Einstein with the Yahoo
Of
series?
course, yeah.
He was like,
I was obsessed with that movie. I actually still really like the soundtrack. Have
I
you
don't
listened
remember
to?
the soundtrack.
Oh, dude, you got to look up the soundtrack. The soundtrack's pretty boss. It's got some great tunes on it. It
Are we
really
talking
is.
like rock and roll soundtrack or like pop sound?
Um,
Not
it's
that I care.
I don't know. It's really kind of like
Yeah.
it's kind of ethereal to a certain extent. It's got like really cool like driving tones. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain.
Check it out.
It's pretty great. There was also did you ever see his movie? It was called Reckless Kelly.
No.
That's a weird one.
Yahoo series.
He oh yeah, yeah. Well, he was like really really popular in Australia for whatever
Right.
reason.
And that was his breakthrough in the States. And they were he was like the teen
He
pop guy for a while.
Yeah, I mean, he never really did anything in the States beyond
Yeah.
Young Einstein. That movie itself is like it's crazy, like
Yeah.
to like revisit that. But I was really obsessed with this movie called Reckless Kelly when it came out in the mid '90s, and he's like a bank robber in Australia, and he decides that he's going to move to the United States to rob banks there. But then he ends up becoming like a movie star, and it's this really really ridiculous, like I mean it's completely ridiculous, but I'm trying to think who else. What the hell is his name? Agent Smith from The Matrix. What was that dude's name? I can't think of his name right now.
Hugo Weaving.
Hugo Weaving. He's the bad guy, and it's like,
Hugo Weaving's great, man. He's just
oh
a
yeah,
good bad guy. He's a good anti-hero.
this is pre-Matrix, so it's like, and it's not long before The Matrix either. So it was, I'm guessing it was probably like 96, 97. But you should definitely check it out. It's really stupid.
I have to. Yeah, I love Hugo Weaving. I loved his character in The Wolfman, Del Toro's
Oh,
Wolfman.
I thought he was. I I get so bummed out that people like that movie went through such hardships because that's one of my favorites. Like I really,
Thanks.
really dig just about everything they did with that movie. I mean, like the CGI is very questionable at times,
But you got to
but
keep in mind the time too.
oh my God, I mean, like the Wolfman design itself is unbelievable.
I agree.
The vibe of the movie is awesome. You actually get Rick Baker is in it. He gets killed, which is wicked funny to see now. And I mean, like I don't know. Anthony Hopkins like has some of the best lines in that
The
movie.
beast shall have its day, Lawrence. The beast
No, it's what is it? He's like just so he pulls out the straight razor and he goes, just in case you don't find life as glorious as I do, and he throws it down.
It's a good one, man. It really is. And what I love about it as well is you mentioned it, how it touched on all of the Gothic elements that were present in that round. Universal didn't really until the 40s when they had their reboot, the resurgence of horror movies with Son of Frankenstein, Wolfman, then all the monster rallies that followed. I'm not dissing on Universal, but you know, they really weren't. It's not like they were like, all right, we need to create atmosphere here. It's just, but they did inadvertently create an atmosphere, and it made those movies. And that's what I loved about Del Toro's version of the Wolfman was he picked up on that gothic element, you know,
I do too, but
slightly cheesy, but in a good way.
yeah, I mean, a lot of people like, you know, shit canned it because it was they. I don't think they went into it expecting it to be a fucking monster movie
Yeah,
because it was. I mean, that's what it was ultimately. I mean, it was a fucking. I mean, it was like a no holds barred, fun as hell monster movie. And it's like they didn't have the monster hiding in the shadows and shit. They were like, no, here's the fucking wolf man. He looks awesome. Check it out. You know, like
true.
you know that they didn't like hide him. And I think people weren't really expecting that because it was during like an era that I mean because it was 2010, so it was you know people were watching things like you know the eighth fucking Saw you know sequel and Hostel 2, and it was just like it was different and it was before there was another like kind of resurgence in doing like creature films and doing things with like weird
Yeah,
monsters.
I was hopeful that they were going to continue that trend. You know, because I figured and they own the franchise. You know,
Yeah,
so here's the Wolfman. You have everything. You have all these other monsters at your disposal. And I
yeah,
think the next thing they did was Dracula Untold, and I was just like, oh come on, man.
yeah. You say that, but at the same time, I went and saw Dracula Untold, and I sat through that movie with the biggest, dumbest smile on my face the entire
I'm
time.
not saying it's bad. It's not bad. Like I enjoy it more than some like Dracula 2000 or something like that, right? But like at the same time, it was
Well, you don't think that he was a good fit for Dracula? You don't. Gerard Butler doesn't scream Dracula to you for some reason.
nah, probably not. But then again, look, it's Universal. No, again, no disrespect. I mean, they cast Lon Chaney Jr. as Dracula, and no offense,
Well, well,
I love Lon Chaney
Dracula
Jr.
2000 was not Universal.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
It was New Line, wasn't it? It was New Line or Dimension.
Mirage. Maybe it was New Line.
I think it was Dimension. Dimensional. Is that what the name of the company was?
Yeah.
But they were, they were the blue toned horror movies of the late '90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
Uh, I liked Dracula Untold because it made Dracula a fucking supernatural character again.
Yeah.
You
No.
know, it was refreshing to me because it wasn't the same like, oh, it's like this disease and all that, and it was like, like come on, make it no, like I don't give a crap if you can reason why he can turn into a cloud of bats. Just make him turn into a cloud of bats. You don't need to reason why he can, move fast or hear, or turn into mist. It's like you
Let him do
can
it.
just do it. It's like he's Dracula. He should be able to do these things. And that hasn't been, put into movies since, at least that hasn't been put in well since, Bram Stoker's Dracula.
No. Yeah. No. It hasn't. It's always an angle of Dracula that's being played rather than the totality of him. Someone's asking if you have any good book recommendations.
Me?
Books. Check them out.
Books. I thought we were here to talk about movies.
Books. Yeah.
Um,
Sometimes books come first.
I mean, I have more like I'm not like I don't read a lot of novels or anything. I have a lot of reference books, so I have a lot of like I mean, a collections and collections of photo books and things like that, and also like making of books. I picked up a great The Art of Ghostbusters book, which has that. I got
All right.
some sort of phone call from San Diego. I don't know who that was, but the I one of my absolute favorites is it's the making of the Haunted Mansion,
Oh yeah. That is.
and it's got a glow in the dark cover, so right away I'm sold. But it's got all the concept art for when they were first like developing the ideas for the ride, and the Haunted Mansion became like something that I became super interested in because I loved the tone of it. I loved the vibe of it. I loved I like it hits all the right notes for me. Um, where it's this beautifully designed, well thought out, it perfectly captures that like what a haunted house is like in a kid's book. Does that make
Mhm.
sense? Like when you're growing up and you're reading all those books and it's like you're in it when you're there. Like
It's
it's
the
like there's
archetype atmosphere.
yeah, and it's like I can't think of anything I love more
Yeah.
than being in that fucking hallway with the lightning storm outside and the wind blowing and then the you know the busts that follow you and it's just everything about it, the lighting, everything. Like I really dig it, and I was really curious as to a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, and seeing a lot of the original sketches have that vibe and even like a little bit more extreme. And it's some of the most amazing sketches I've ever seen. And I always talk about how I'm going to scan some of them and put them on my walls because like I just want to frame them and put them up because there's some really cool stuff in there.
There was definitely an element and an atmosphere to, just art in general, the approach to graphic design. Everything, even if you look at like Jack Davis and all those guys, all the old EC comics, which is different than what you're talking about, but it definitely
Well,
heralds from that time. You know what I mean? You
it's it's
feel
it's funny because um, the guys who were designing ended up designing it. They actually pulled a lot from EC Comics.
mm,
The I can't remember which one it is specifically. I mean, there's like the old witch from the EC Comics is like pretty much in there,
yeah,
and it's like there's a lot of elements they pulled from those comics, and they all so it's kind of like this perfect time capsule of that time. Uh, and that's the other piece of the Haunted Mansion that I love so much is that it is relatively unchanged
yeah.
from the day it opened in 1969,
And
and
that's cool.
it's
It gives it that encapsulated kind of, like you're saying, that atmosphere is kind of preserved
yeah.
in effect. Yeah, good answer. I accept the answer.
But I mean, yeah, that's about as into books as I get. Really, I mean, I read a lot of comic books, but uh,
Yeah.
but but books. The most books that I have are reference books like that I like for inspiration and for reference for whatever I'm working on.
I had somebody asking me last week for book recommendation, and I couldn't think of anything right off the bat because you know how it is, like you get put on the spot. But um, if you guys are out there, all right, and since you asked, if you want to check out a book, it's not even a book; it's a short story. There's a guy named Theodore Sturgeon. If you're not familiar with Theodore Sturgeon, he's kind of one of the early sci-fi writer guys, like Asimov and whatnot. Um, he's regarded as one of the more, I guess, popular, if you want, for lack of a better term, sci-fi writers. But he wrote a short story called "It," and not Pennywise the Clown or anything like that. And I don't want to give too much away, but essentially what it is it's in like a spore, a sort of fungus and mold that has some form of intelligence to it. It finds a skeleton and grows on it, and then animates the skeleton. There's more to it, but what made me think of this as well? We were talking about EC. It's not necessarily EC, but DC Comics. They came up with Swamp Thing later on, and it was
Hmm.
directly inspired by this character from this Theodore Sturgeon book.
Oh, that's cool.
Man Thing came from that as well. Swamp Thing. They're all direct lineage from this character in this Theodore Sturgeon book. Um, but it is such a good story, man. Like when you think of Swamp Thing and Man Thing, you're like, okay, you have that superhero connotation and this kind of visceral creature. You know what I mean? That's like a humanoid. It's so much more lumbering and just instinctual and creepy. It's a very, very, very uh, unnerving story. So if you guys are out there, check that book out, Theodore Sturgeon. And that's my donation to the book Mobile tonight. So, well, listen, dude, it's been awesome having you on here. I think we're gonna probably wrap things up for the night for this episode. But again, thank you so much for coming on. And for anyone out there like who wasn't here earlier, check out Sam's website, monstersaregood.com. Here on Instagram, it's just at monstersaregood, right?
Yep.
You have a link to your store there. You can check out your items.
Yep, there should be there's a link right on the in the profile.
Yeah.
I tend to tag the products in the posts as well, and yeah, just monstersaregood.com. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. Same Monsters Are Good everywhere.
And are you available for commissions for bands and artists and people out there? Like, is that where
I'm
you're at?
not saying no to them, but like I mean, deadlines mean everything. So
Right,
you
right. If you're all right, man. Yeah, I can't wait to show everybody what we've been working on. Sam and I have been working on something for a little bit regarding Argyle Goolsby, some Roby Midnight stuff. That was due out already, but with everything as it is right now, it's kind of being retooled for a different date. But I am excited to release that. I'm also excited to get all your merch out that we have for the Escape the Grave tour.
Yeah.
Sam did most of the design. The I guess the vibe of the tour. A lot of the merch that we have is all based on your design. So hopefully we'll get that out there at some point, man, and people will be repping. But in the meantime, everybody go check out Sam's stuff and pick up some swag. And yeah, I'll be seeing you soon, man. Whenever I can get up to Massachusetts, and yeah, we can all get together again.
Yeah, I'll try to hook up my projector outside and we can watch some movies.
Cool. And then while you're hooking up the projector, I will make sure I go in there and play with that Frankenstein figure behind you.
All right. You have a good. This was fun.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care, man.
Later, homie.
Bye.
All right, everybody. So that was Sam. I want to thank Sam for coming on. Thanks for you guys for sitting around listening to us gab and talk about horror movies. Speaking of horror movies, I want to end this with next week's movie, if you guys are checking it out. For those of you who aren't here checking it out on the replay, I also want to point out that these do go up on YouTube. So if you can't watch all these right now, I've got the whole series up on YouTube. Go to YouTube /ACWNN. Be sure to subscribe while you're there. You'll get notifications anytime these videos go up. But next week's movie is a really personal favorite of mine. I'd forgotten all about it. And I was looking through my DVDs, and I said this one had to be this week's. It's from 1946, and it's called Strangler of the Swamp. It stars Charles Middleton, who was also Ming the Merciless in the old Flash Gordon series way back in the day. But it's a really, really atmospheric, creepy flick for the time. I forgot the company. It's not RKO. I want to say it was PRC Films. But it's based on a German movie called Farmen Maria, and it's remade by the same director in 46 in Hollywood. It centers around a ferryman, like in a swamp in New Orleans, I believe it is, who gets accused wrongly for a murder and is hanged. And as a result, his ghost now haunts the swamp. Enter in the character of Maria. She comes to the swamp to take over this job of ferryman. And it's more or less kind of documenting the encounters of these people throughout the woods and in the swamp with this ghost of the old ferryman, whose method of disposal of victims is a noose. But there's a lot of mist, a lot of atmosphere, kind of a lethargic pace for that time. It's a victim of being a poverty row film in that regard. But there's a lot of cool moments. So check it out, Strangler of the Swamp. And hopefully you guys will enjoy that. And if you guys have any questions before I hop off here, let me know. And, we'll go from there, right? Is there a horror movie that you wanted to write a song about but haven't wrote it yet? Yeah, The Golem. We have one about Dr. Caligari, Nosferatu, Phantom of the Opera, so on and so on. But either The Golem or Metropolis. And I do have a framework for a few of those songs already, and in form of like pieces of lyrics and things like that, but nothing yet. But at the end of this quarantine, there's going to be a lot of material coming your guys' way. Everything's just on hold right now, so you're going to notice like a little bit of lull if you're seeing on the store, if you're seeing you know, on Instagram in general. There's like been a little bit of a lack of stuff coming out. That will change. Just, we're working towards new deadlines and things like that. So, see, someone said thanks for doing the live streams, Snoop Bat. That's going to be it. I'm Snoop Bat for the time being. I do like Reggae Mortis. That's going to be the that is officially going to be what the music's called when I do a reggae album. But I do like the Reggae Midnight as well. So, haunted a Netflix series doing all the haunted places around the world. You know, man, I've thought about it. Even if it's not Netflix, just working with some other companies out there. You know, there's Horror Hound Magazine. You know, I've often wanted to do some kind of travel log for a magazine. So if anyone's listening out there and you have that sort of thing available, let me know. I'm always traveling, always hitting up crazy, you know, just random edge of the road and woods sorts of places. So, and I like to talk. And that translates into lots of paragraphs so I can fill up pages. Graceland Cemetery in Chicago, I will do that. I have not seen the Netflix show Dark. I do need to see that. I've heard of it. My next Netflix thing that I want to watch, and it's not even Netflix, my next stream experience is going to be Turn. It's old. I need to catch up. I'm sorry. It's like from 2013. But I'm really big into American Revolution, in particular, all the conflagrations that happened, you know, in like Westchester County, Tappan Zee, Tarrytown, Sleepy Hollow, and all that. So I'm going to be checking that out next turn. Let's see here. Take pics, write about them, save them up. I do. I mean, I have a lot of stuff, you guys. I've been really fortunate. You know, it's just I've never had, you know, a vlog type setup with me at these places. I've been everywhere, you know. I've been, and I'm not saying this like I'm the coolest guy in the world. I'm just saying I really enjoy those things. I've been to Nosferatu's castle where they filmed Nosferatu. I've been to Mary Shelley's grave. I've been to, you name it, man. You know what I mean? Anywhere that I can stop when we're on tour, I get the route that we're going to be on, and I just automatically start putting my fillers out for cool places to go. You know what I mean? Along the way. That's always been one of my favorite parts about touring. So, but anyway, you guys, seriously, thank you so much for joining tonight. Thanks again to Sam. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you have a good week. We'll get here next week. I'm going to work out some next new guests for next week too. So I'll keep you guys posted on that as we go. I should know by weekend or next week what that's going to be. But in the meantime, Strangler of the Swamp, check it out, and I will see you guys next time. All right. Thank you so much. Long live the horror. Bye.